Good evening and welcome to the Town of Rockland's Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. Please direct your attention to our Vice Chairman, Mr. Larry Ryan, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Larry?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry.
Welcome.
Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded by WRPS for playback on Comcast Channel 14 and Verizon Channel 31. It will also be available for online video on-demand viewing at WRPSRockland.com within 24 hours of its conclusion, as are other recently recorded meeting and community events. Please go to WRPSRockland.com for further information. Okay, first on the agenda, community announcements. Doug?
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see it now. So this is something I look forward to every meeting. I'd like to read about our newest healthcare worker of the week, Megan Sullivan. I'm going to read you her bio. It's interesting, and it's somebody newer to the profession. She said, "Thank you to the Town of Rockland. My name is Megan Sullivan, and I've lived in Rockland all my life. For as long as I can remember, I've known that I wanted to take care of others when they're in need. I graduated from the University of New Hampshire in 2017 with a bachelor's degree in psychology and started working as a case manager at South Shore Hospital. While working at South Shore Hospital, I quickly realized I wanted to become a nurse. I'm currently in my last semester at Mass General Hospital Institute of Health Professionals Accelerated BSN program and will be graduating in August. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, I knew what I wanted to do so I could help and do my part as a soon-to-be nurse. I started volunteering at the Boston Hopefield Hospital caring for recovered COVID-19 positive patients. Boston Hope has been a humbling experience where I've worked with patients of all walks of life, many of whom are homeless, and most have been away from their loved ones for several weeks, isolated due to COVID-19. Working at Boston Hope, I've never been more sure that I've chosen the right career path. I've seen how the Rockland community truly comes together during challenging times, and during this pandemic, the Rockland community has been nothing but supportive to their healthcare workers. I'm so honored to be chosen as Rockland's Healthcare Worker of the Week, and I'm honored to be part of this amazing community. So thank you and congratulations to Megan.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Doug.
That's all I have.
So also under community announcements, I received a letter from the Vice Chairman of the school committee, Dick Phelps. I just thought I would take the opportunity to read it to the general public and to the rest of the board. For more than 26 years now, I have proudly served the town of Rockland as a member of the school committee. I've always done so with the best interests of the administration, faculty, and most notably the students of Rockland in mind. I have poured my entire soul into the position, and up until recently, I feel I was able to completely devote myself fully to the job and give it all it deserves. Due to some recent issues with my health, I no longer feel that I can continue to do this. After speaking with those closest to me, I have determined that I need to focus on my health and well-being so that I can continue to enjoy the things I love, my family, and many great friends. That being said, I am writing to inform you that I am resigning from the Rockland School Committee effective immediately. I do this with some sadness as I still care deeply about the town and the students of Rockland. I am proud of what we have accomplished over the past several years and blessed to have worked with some wonderful colleagues on the committee as well as terrific superintendents and administrators. The true quality of any organization is in its people, and that being true, I believe the Rockland Public Schools continue to be in great hands. I would like to thank the people of Rockland for allowing me to serve in this position the past several years, as I truly have received more from this than I have given. This is the only town I have ever known, and I love it with all that I am. I'm not going anywhere, and I'll always be available to help in a moment's notice, but I know in my heart that it's the best, that this is what is best, and this is the right time. Yours in service, Dick Phelps. So I think it goes without saying that the town owes a sincere debt of gratitude to Dick Phelps for his many years on the school committee and in other positions that he's held within the town. Dick will sorely be missed, and I'm not sure there's really anybody out there that can fill those shoes. But like he said, the school committee will go on. They have a good committee, and they'll be strong going forward as well. So Dick, thank you. And obviously, when this is all over and we're able to get out again, we'll celebrate Dick the way he deserves, and we'll acknowledge him as a town. So, Selectman, any comments, Larry? Larry, you muted.
I muted it. How's that?
There you go. Much better.
All right, no, I just, anyway, Dick and I go back a long ways, and he's always been a hardworking man for the town. The town has always been his number one interest, and he's been very, very vocal and very, very passionate about the way he projects himself in the school committee, and has done a great job. We haven't always agreed on everything, and nobody ever does in life, but we've remained friends over the years, and we can agree to disagree sometimes, but most of the time we're always on the same page, which is the town of Rockland. And Dick, thank you. If you're out there listening to us, I hope you're there. I hope you feel well, and thanks for all you've ever done.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Mullen.
I just want to, really start by saying, thank you to Dick. I can thank you to his wife Ann, and to his whole family for everything that they continue to do for Rockland. When you think about, and anyone in Rockland thinks about who Rockland's forefathers are. Dick Phelps is certainly, he's one of those forefathers. He's Rockland. He embodies everything that, Rockland is, that our families are, and what really the Rockland community spirit is all about. And back 13 years ago when I first ran and when I first decided to get involved by running for school committee, it was actually one of the seats I ran for was Dick's seat at the time. At the time, he was stepping off the school committee, and I wanted, to get involved. And, the whole time I have been involved, it's really been the example of Dick Phelps and other people who I've really worked to follow, and all of us really worked to follow. So I just want to, again, thank Dick, and the entire Phelps family for, just really being, that example for all of us. And I wish him extremely well, as he goes forward. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Mr. Mullen. Ms. Nyman?
I also want to thank Dick for his many years of service on the school committee. He will sorely be missed, and I wish him well.
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Penny?
Thanks, Mike. I've had the pleasure of knowing Dick for a lot of years, and Dick, Ann, and his entire family truly have been impactful in this town. There is not a whole lot that has happened in this town that Dick and his family have not had their imprint on, and for the good. I can honestly tell you that Dick Phelps was one of the reasons why I actually started to get involved in the town. Seeing what he did, what his family has done, what his kids continue to do, just tremendous family, very, very inspirational man, and I wish him all the best. And I know even though he's stepping down, I know he will still have his imprint on this town, and we will all be better for it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. And like I said at the beginning, when we're all able to get out again, we'll definitely figure out a tribute that's befitting Dick, if there really is one. I mean, he's done so much for the town that there's really not much that we can give back to him, but we'll do our best. And with that, we'll move on. Minutes, open session minutes of May 19, 2020. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Second?
Second.
I got a second. Okay, Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
and Mr. Penny,
Yes.
and myself. Okay, on to new business. Item number 4, CDBG CARES Act funding. Vote to submit application and authorize the chair to sign letter of interest. Wayne Dara. So I think first we need a motion to enter into the
Motion to open the hearing.
open up the public hearing. Yep. We got a
Second.
motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Mr. Mullin,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Penny,
Yes.
and Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, Wayne.
Good evening. Thank you for hosting this public hearing tonight. I'm here to speak with you about a funding opportunity that has been put forth by the Department of Housing and Community Development. DHCD is the state agency through which the Department of Housing and Urban Development channels its funding to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. As part of the first bailout.
Sorry. I thought I was on mute. Sorry.
As part of the first bailout package that was put forth, Congress saw fit to add $5 billion to the CDBG program nationwide. That translated to an additional $20.65 million for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. These funds are to be specifically used to assist businesses and individuals who have been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. When DHCD finally put out this notification of funding availability, they had made a decision to take $10 million of that money and make it available to regional agencies to provide rental and mortgage assistance to low and moderate income individuals. The remaining $9.65 million is being made available on a competitive basis to non-entitlement communities, which Rockland qualifies as, throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. These funds are being made available for 2 types of programs. One would be assistance to micro enterprises. A micro enterprise is defined by HUD as being a business with no more than 5 employees, of which at least one must be the owner of the business. And the second activity which you can use these funds for would be to assist public social service agencies. We have put together what we think might be a competitive proposal to be headed by the town of Rockland as the lead community for a regional application. That would also include the communities of Abington, Avon, Holbrook, Hull, and Wareham. And I know that might seem like an eclectic group of communities, but one of the reasons I've asked these communities to come together for this application is the timeline on this is very, very short. This application is due a week from Friday on June 12th. I felt that in order to get the information I needed in a timely manner, I needed to work with communities that I already had a relationship with as a CDBG consultant. These communities represent communities where I have done work on CDBG programs in the past, except for Hull, which is a new community, but it is a community that one of my competitors has helped in the past, and she wasn't able to provide them assistance. So she asked if we could include them as part of this activity, and I thought that was a reasonable request. The reason I'm proposing the town move forward with a regional application is that is the very strong suggestion that DHCD has put forth. Because everything is moving on such a fast track, and because they want to spread this money as far and wide as possible, they're asking communities to come in with regional applications. That way, you know, for every application they have to review and score, should it be funded, they'll be helping more than just one community. In other words, if they'd rather fund 10 applications that provide funding to 40 communities than review 40 individual applications. So we've put together this team of towns. Each town is eligible for up to $400,000 of funding. I'm not going to suggest that we ask for that much for each community. There's only $9.65 million available. DHCD is trying to spread this money as far as possible. So I believe that asking for the maximum amount is going to be down upon by the scorers and reviewers. I also think it's not reasonable to ask for the full amount because we really don't know what the demand is. The micro enterprise program is going to be a challenge because not only does the business have to have 5 or fewer employees, at least one of whom is the owner, that owner has to be low and moderate income. So I think micro enterprises that are going to be eligible for this assistance, we're really going to have to thread the needle finding these folks. We're really going to have to market this program and go through a lot of applications before we find the folks that can really be eligible for this assistance. So what I've spoken with Jen Constable about previously was an application where we are asking for between $100,000 and $150,000 per community, so that the greatest amount of money we would be seeking is $900,000. I also think from a competitive point of view that $1 million is sort of a psychological barrier for DHCD, and we need to keep that in mind when we're preparing our application. So the way I visualize this is each community getting anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 for, let's say, $70,000 to $100,000 for the micro enterprise program, under the assumption that the greatest amount of assistance a micro enterprise would be eligible for is $10,000. So we would be looking for 7 to 10 eligible micro enterprises in a given community. Then that each community should look to ask for $20,000 to $30,000 for a public social service in its community. What we've been talking to a lot of our client communities about is seeking additional funding for food pantries. They are a social service, as a group, they have clearly felt the impact of the COVID-19 crisis. They have seen demand for assistance skyrocket recently. So it seems to be a clear need that we can quantify in each client communities. I've kind of rambled on here a little bit. I just want to know if anyone has any questions so far.
Anybody have any questions for Wayne?
Okay. So the funding, we haven't been given a strict schedule on which to spend it. Our initial indication was the state wanted this money spent by the end of the calendar year. I think they've relaxed that view. So I think we would be looking at a program that would run roughly from July of this year to June of next year. And what the assistance would be used for micro enterprises is to support their expenses that were incurred while they were closed. For instance, you know, they still had to pay rent, they still had to pay utilities, they still had expenses the meter was still running on a lot of their things when they were closed and didn't have any income. We would be providing this assistance in the form of a grant. So they would not be repaying this money, it would not be a loan. It would be an outright grant, sort of like the PPP program was for small businesses. That's how we're looking to structure this program. And for the social services, again, it's going to be a grant to them. It's going to be money for them to provide to meet the increased demand for their services that they've been experiencing over the past few months and can anticipate to experience for the foreseeable future.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Ms. Nyman,
I do not. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Mr. Penny,
I do not. Thanks, Wayne. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ryan,
Wayne, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Don't have
Thanks.
anything either.
Thanks, Larry.
Mr. Mullen.
Wayne, just one quick question. On the micro loan program, would you be able to just, so the business owner, like in order to qualify, they'd have to, they would have to be low income themselves?
The family household of the owners of the business would have to meet the low and moderate income guidelines in order to
Okay.
be eligible to receive this assistance.
Okay. Thank you.
So it has nothing to do with the profit and loss of the business itself. It's the household income of the owner.
That makes sense. Thank you, Wayne. That's the only thing I had. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay, and I have no questions. I kind of asked the question that I had, so thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Motion in 2 seconds.
Right. Can
Mr.
I
Ryan.
say one, Mike, before you do? Did you want to see if there was any public input before you closed it?
Sure, absolutely.
I think there might be some, at least 1 or 2 or 3 people from the public, so. Speak now, forever hold your peace. I take it from the silence that there's no public comment.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Mr. Penny,
Yes.
and Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Okay, and myself. Public hearing is now closed. I will entertain a motion to adopt the CDBG CARES Act funding.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All those in favor, Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Penny,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
and myself. Okay, that's approved. Thank you, Wayne.
Great, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I'll continue to work with Jen and Doug on this application over the next 10, 11 days. It's going to be a rush, but we'll get it in, and I'm feeling very confident about it. And also, just to let you know, I received notice yesterday that I don't know if it was the second or third package that was put out by the federal government, but the state has received another 26 million in CDBG funds that they're looking on feedback from communities about the best way to spend that money. And so there's going to be more money coming down the pipeline. I will continue to keep the town informed as I get information on that.
Appreciate it, Wayne.
I
Okay.
think all volunteer elected officials should participate in that money.
We'll see what we can do.
Thanks a lot, Wayne.
All right. Thank you, folks. Have a good
Wayne,
night.
thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Wayne's gonna get us some money, guys.
Next on the agenda, guys, is the annual appointments. There's only a couple of them, so I'll just read them off and just we'll vote them all at the end. Conservation Commission, 3-year term, Charlene Judge, 624 Forest Street. Historical Commission, 3-year term, James Paul, 162 Webster Street. And Open Space Committee, 3-year term, Pamela Titus, 864 Union Street.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Penny?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen? And Mr. Mullen?
Yes, thank you for allowing me to vote, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I just figured your hand was up, so, all right, and myself. All right, moving on. Southfield Redevelopment Authority Advisory Board, discussion of potentially reopening appointment. Doug?
Sure, thank you. So if the board remembers, quite a while ago, a number of months ago, we were made aware that the advisory board for Southfield Redevelopment Authority had 2 vacancies for the town of Rockland, and the vacancies had lasted for quite a while, and it was making it difficult for them to get a quorum to be able to hold any meetings. So they asked us to, really publicize it again and try to get some members of the community to step up and volunteer so they could do their thing. And we did that. We talked about it at a meeting. We did advertise it. We put it on Facebook, etc. And we did not get any applications from the public to do that. So with a little bit of arm twisting, I asked our treasurer, John Ellard, and our tax collector, Judy Hardigan, to step up, and they volunteered to do that. I shouldn't say volunteered. I asked them to do it, but they agreed to do it, and I very much appreciate it. So they've been filling that role, and now since that time, I had some interest from 1 or 2 people in the community asking about filling that role, and I explained that we're not currently seeking applicants. However, again, this was not something that Judy and John were looking to do. They're really just trying to help us out. So given that, and given that there are at least one other person who's potentially interested, I thought I'd just bring it up for discussion. And I think if you guys wanted to pursue it, I would leave it open for a couple months, maybe have something due in August to really do a bigger advertising. But my understanding is that it's not a lot of heavy lifting. There's sort of like a finance committee advisory group to the Southfield board. So I don't believe there's a ton of meetings. I don't think the commitment is huge, but there's obviously some commitment involved. So it's really just a question if you want to keep Judy and John in that role, or if you'd like to open it up for the community to have another shot at potentially volunteering.
Okay, I'll open it up to comments from the board. Mr. Penny?
So I always think we should try to encourage residents to participate and become involved. Particularly where, and to Judy and John's credit, taking on this responsibility in addition to other duties that they do, really grateful for that. But if we have residents who want to participate and be part of it, I would encourage that, and I would look to try to, if we can, find 2 residents who want to do this.
Okay, Mr. Ryan?
I certainly would be examining it if John and Judy, don't want to be etched in stone. I would reopen it again. It doesn't bother me. I saw one of the participants, and she's been involved in the town over the years in a number of different ways. So maybe she wants to get back into it. So, I got no beats.
Okay.
Just reopening it.
Okay, Mr. Mullen?
On that note, I have a little bit of like a divergent view. I think, we've already gone through pretty great lengths, to advertise the vacancies. And, I think they were I think both vacancies were open for about a month and a half, if I recall. I do know that, prior to those vacancies being filled, those vacancies were vacant, so to speak. Well, that's exactly what happened. And, there were, I believe, quorum issues for the advisory board to meet in the first place. And, I do think and John, and Judy, we do have very capable representatives on there. The other thing I also frankly believe is important with everything, with the SRA advisory board, like it's important to have people who who understand the town finances, understand the finances of the SRA, can really have also like a vested interest, not only as residents, but a vested interest for the real financial position of the town. Really inherently driving their work on behalf of the town. Like I know that's what we had before. When those positions were not vacant. And that's what we have now. And John and Judy since we filled them. So I frankly like and very much believe in the people we have now, and I would like to see them stay there. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mike. Ms. Nyman.
So I have a question. Is there term limits on the SRA advisory board?
That's a good question, and I don't know it off the top of my head.
If-
Give me 1 second, I might be able to find it.
Just if so, I feel we should keep Judy and John in those positions maybe until the term limit is up, and then we can reappoint and open it back up to residents who want to participate.
Yeah, I should have looked that up ahead of time. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
No worries.
So I think the other part of this too, Doug, wasn't this brought up because there was some kind of, I don't know if it was an agreement or a written rule or unwritten rule that elected officials would not hold those positions?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I understand that point. And again, I think we were just looking to fill the positions. And I
Yeah.
should have also mentioned that Biz is an alternate as well. But that they were two, residents in town with a financial background, and, we thought it made sense. But yes, I do think that is an issue.
But is it something that's officially, I mean, do we have any documentation of this, or is this just a,
I mean,
understanding?
if you'd like, we could continue this to another meeting, and I can do a little bit more homework. I can get more detail on the term limits or the length of terms, and I could find out a little bit more. I know that for the board, I remember with Mr. Henderson, that was an issue, but for an advisory board like this, I can do a little bit more digging and get you guys some more information for your next meeting. I'd be happy to do that. I don't think it's a urgent matter that has to be decided tonight. So given that you have a couple of questions, you could continue.
Eric Hart here. Eric, I don't believe that, I think that the board, you can't have an elected official, but I'm not sure if it's advisory board that you can. I believe you can have it on the advisory, not the other board.
I know that there was an exception that you allowed me to be placed on that board during the time when I was town accountant. So I don't know if the same rule applies to elected officials. I do believe there's a term limit, and there is a pressing matter on top of that, and that is that we need to have a budget approved by June 30th. So I don't know if you could put them in temporarily so we could just get them there for a budget to be approved.
And if I could just jump in, I definitely, again, I was only thinking if you wanted to reopen it, it would be a decision would be made later in the summer, so that John and Judy would stay to enable the budget to get done and stay until that time. I was not suggesting that anything be done immediately now to disrupt the budget process at the SRA.
Yeah, let's, I think that's probably best. We can table now. Let's get through anyway the decisions that are being made up there right now, and then if we decide to reopen it, let's see if we have interest at that point. Because to that point, I remember when I first, I think when Eric first started working up at Southfield, he reached out to me and said that they're looking for somebody. So this has been this has been almost 3 years that they've been looking for people to fill those positions. And I know we had a member that was on there that was on the finance committee, and people weren't happy that there was a member of the finance committee on that because, they can't be on another committee. So it was out there for some time. And it's interesting that now that we find that these positions are filled, that all of a sudden we have interest, but so be it. So I think, I'll entertain whatever motion the board wants to make on this. I think personally we can table this for another day and get some more information on it.
Make a motion, we table it for another day.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion. All right, I have a motion in 3 seconds. So I even bother with a vote? Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Penny,
Yes.
and myself. So we'll table that. Doug, we'll put that on an agenda somewhere down the line later in the summer. In the meantime, whatever information you can disseminate and get to the rest of the board, that'd be great.
I will. Thank you, Mike, and I apologize for not having that with you tonight.
No apologies.
And one thing I should say, just for the general public, is we did a lot of work, and especially the town clerk, Donna Shortall, and our IT director, Geno, did a tremendous amount of work, and I'll just promote it again because it directly relates to this. On the town website, if you go to boards and committees, and you actually click the words boards and committees, there's a whole new database that's online for every single board and committee in town, and you can click it and instantly visually see each board, whether there's a vacancy or not, when each seat is up or not. I just want to confirm that's where I went to look for the term for this particular seat, and I wanted to just make sure that it's accurate. But for all the standard boards, elected, appointed, etc., that's where a single portal that anybody from the public can go to at any time to see what's out there and what they want to either run for or potentially seek appointment for. So just wanted to promote that again. It's the town website, rockland-ma.gov, click boards and committees. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. All right, next on the agenda is the Selectmen Summer Meeting Schedule. Doug?
Yep, thank you, Mike. So there's two things I wanted to highlight here. I think, if I'm correct, that generally the board tends to meet once each month in the summer, at least in the past. And there's a couple of things going on that I think we should plan for as you look at the schedule. One is that the treasurer, John Ellard, has asked that the board meet that first Tuesday in August 4th, because the timing is important for you to authorize a bond for the school building construction project. So I think August 4th would be good for the August meeting. In addition, there's also the seat for the school committee that you read Mr. Phelps' letter earlier. So there's a provision in state law for a meeting with a school committee to fill an unfilled seat. So we should also look at doing that. I think the school department was looking probably in July for that one, to do that a little sooner. So I don't have an exact feeling on when you want to meet for that issue. And then the third thing, which I think actually could be a sooner issue, not so much in July or August, but within the next coming weeks, when we get to our COVID-19 update, there was a new executive order from the governor that's allowing for a lot more flexibility restaurants to open, and they're giving streamlined authority for boards of selectmen to change premises and allow outdoor seating, and this includes places that serve alcohol. And so we're going to have a process, and I'll get to more of the detail later, but we're going to want to be responsive to those businesses as much as we can if any apply for that. And so we may need to have a special meeting and not make them wait several weeks for that. So that's probably more of a short-term thing that'll be ad hoc special, but I think the other two big things are August 4th for the school building project, and just pick a date that you guys would like in July for the school committee vacancy.
Everybody good with July 7th?
Works for me.
Yeah, that was I knew that was going to happen much.
Okay, I heard Rich say it works for me. Mike, what did you say? Okay,
Can I
so
speak?
you can. I'm waiting for it.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, the 7th of July works for me. Just the first week in August, I'm not around, but I expect to be, a quorum anyways, to authorize that bond, so.
All right, so you guys are good with July 7th and August 4th. And then with anything that we need in the meantime, I think we should probably put a placeholder in for the 16th, Doug. I think we talked about that, because so we can have anything that we need to go over for town meeting. And then if we have to jump in, if restaurants get their applications in for relaxed seating, outdoor seating and stuff like that, then, we can throw something together. It's a Zoom meeting, so.
We probably should schedule a meeting for town meeting night also. You know what I mean, selectmen's meeting.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
we meet before, so we should schedule it anyway, even if we don't.
Yeah, we should put something down just saying that there will be a quorum of the Board of Selectmen prior to, just put it as a meeting, Doug, for 6 p.m. on town meeting night. Okay.
Got it.
All right, moving on. Doug, any other new business not reasonably anticipated?
No.
Okay, old business, COVID-19 update. Doug.
Sure. So Dalshan is on the call just in case I need any help with any of this, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of updates because there has been some news. The current snapshot with the number of cases in town, there are currently 74, 66 of those in the community and 8 in the 2 nursing homes. And also the latest snapshot is there's been 119 recoveries in the community and 100 recoveries in the nursing homes. So the trend is definitely getting better. One thing I hope to do in the near future with Delhi's help is put together like a stacked bar graph from the beginning in March to now, just to sort of show what the trends were like, how the cases went up and then the recoveries and unfortunately some of the deaths and then how it is going down. But so the numbers are looking good. Probably the biggest news, well, maybe before I get to the governor's order, we still are working with our staff reopening committee, and we are, methodically planning what our opening is going to look like. We're not rushing for a specific date. I have had a board or a committee ask when they can start having meetings again, but the public health aspect of it hasn't improved enough to just flick the switch and have large gatherings yet. That's not the guidance that we have. So we are making progress. Where Delhi's having plexiglass installed, we're making plans, looking at measuring distances and figuring out if we need to have staggered schedules, but we're effectively working the way we are now, and I'll definitely keep you all updated as we start bringing more staff in, then ultimately bringing in the public by appointment, and then ultimately after that, have more of the public in our premises. The biggest news, I think, was the governor's latest order, COVID order number 35. And this was authorizing progress for phase 2. And I just wanted to read a couple of highlights of this and what we're doing in this regard. So beginning immediately, businesses and other organizations that are included in the phase 2 reopening plan may reopen their physical workplaces to workers, and I want to stress this part, for the purposes of preparing for a phase opening when authorized. So they're not able to open to customers yet, but they are able to open up to plan for this, and for when that ultimate order will be forthcoming. And this phase includes retail stores, restaurants, hotels, motels, various kinds of non-athletic instructional classes, driving schools, funeral homes, so quite a few things. And then very interestingly, restaurants will now be able to provide outdoor table service. So this is something that is able to happen very soon. And when they define outdoor table service, they define it as outside the building, whether on a sidewalk, patio, deck, lawn, parking area, or other outdoor space. And it has to make sure that anything under an awning or umbrella, but at least 50% of the perimeter must remain open and unobstructed. So it can't be a tent fully enclosed, that type of thing. And then also it explains that not any other provision of law, I'm going to read the exact words, Board of Selectmen or Chief Executive will establish a process for approving these requests, and they don't have to comply, do not have to comply with the notice and publication provisions of all these other things and normally under state law. And for the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission is allowing towns to make these decisions on their own, and we just have to provide notice to the state. So this is really a big deal because, as you all know, there's very tight controls over all the permits around all these establishments. And if the state were to require us to follow that normal process, it would just take too long and there'd be no relief for these businesses because you'd have to have public hearings and abutter notices and potentially looking at variances and alterations of special permits. So the state's providing quite a bit of flexibility here. As it relates to the guidelines for the extension of premises to patios and outdoor areas, they specifically say that there has to be an application that describes it in detail. They must be enclosed by a fence or rope or something like that. They must have a clear view from inside of the premises. They must have legal right to the area. The licensing authority, the town, has to consider the type of neighborhood, potential for noise, impacts on abutters, all those types of things. So in an effort to be really proactive with this, and based on John Clifford's advice, we worked with council and we sent out a letter, and also, especially with the help of Deli and Sue Ide in our office, we sent out a letter to every single restaurant in town to try to be proactive and get a sense of what their intentions might be so that we can get ahead of it and be ready to react to this as quickly as possible. Some of the things that we asked for when we sent out the letter is, if you do plan on asking for some type of relief for outdoor seating, make sure that you include all kinds of contact info, the location, if there'll be a tent, the dimensions, the capacity, number of tables, access and egress, service hours, restaurant access, and anything relating to entertainment. So we sent all this out. We have already received preliminary info. It's not complete yet from 2 restaurants. We don't really know how many more we'll get, if any, but we will have requests from at least 2. It wasn't complete enough to be able to bring to you tonight, but so this is what I was referring to when I mentioned we'll likely need to have a special meeting sometime soon so that we can react and give the necessary flexibility. But we want to make sure that all the relevant departments, so we have health, building, police and fire, and we need to make sure that they're all comfortable from all their various perspectives, that public safety will be maintained, and then we want to give as much flexibility as possible. I think from my end, that was the major part of the COVID update I wanted to make, unless either Jen or Deli or the chief has any other COVID updates you guys wanted to make. No.
May I speak for a minute?
Absolutely.
Is there any reason, Doug, that we can't authorize you and with either the Board of Health or whatever to authorize the opening so that we don't have to meet every time somebody wants to change something? If they all fall, if we give the parameters?
Yeah, we've talked about that in some of the meetings I've been on, and obviously our town council's here. John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's best if the board makes the final decision. We're going to try to do all the legwork and have it all teed up for you, so it'll be a very quick discussion. But I believe the way the state has done this executive order, the intent is for mayors, chief executive officers, boards of selectmen to make the final call. John, do you agree with that?
Yes. So the board legislation's actually going to be acted on tomorrow. They're telling us to make this official, but the board will approve the process. But I think the board can approve a process that's as streamlined as possible so that basically you can just approve these things. You may end up having to call some meetings on 48 hours notice to try to get some of these things done. But I think there's enough latitude there for the town to be able to move quickly.
So Mike, I do have a comment on here if I can.
Okay, go ahead. Yep, I wasn't sure if Doug had anything else. Go ahead, Rich.
Rich.
Sure. So obviously, this is finally a step in the right direction, at least in my opinion. The challenge I think that we face within Rockland in our restaurant owners, and the reason why we've only had 2 applicants, because I can only think of 3 actual properties that might actually be able to have some semblance of outside dining. So many of our restaurants sit uptown, right on a sidewalk. They sit in a strip mall that are right up to a parking lot. So while I do think this at least starts the process heading in the right direction, I think, at least for our community, it's not a solution for the owners of these restaurants. So, I don't know what the answer is, but I do know, for a fact, one of the reasons why you've only heard from 2 is because only 3 could actually even pull this off if they wanted to. So unfortunately, I believe we continue to not be able to serve our community, both with the owners and with the residents. So I don't know what the alternative is. Is it, can we find some town-owned property or even privately owned property that the owners may agree to open up that property and allow for some type of table service to be available there? What I don't know is how do we police that? But I certainly know, like the restaurants uptown, they don't have an option right now, because you can't put tables out in front. Butterfield.
We put tables up front before, and we've had sales throughout the town where all the towns put their goods on the sidewalk on a temporary basis. And where this is an emergency, we've okayed sidewalk seating before for the town restaurants if they wanted it.
All right, we don't have the space, so we've got narrow sidewalks uptown. You've got Butterfields that's apart. Hold on, Larry. I was talking. Can you wait till I'm done and then jump in?
Sure, that's okay.
Okay, thank you. So I do think that we have to look at all of the restaurants out there and actually do our due diligence and see which are the ones that might be able to have the space to do it. And for those that don't, can we actually help them come up with a plan if they do choose to try to go this route? Go ahead, Larry.
I'm good. It's just we've done before.
And if I could say one thing to that, Rich and I had a conversation yesterday, I think, where we were brainstorming, looking at some maps online and thinking of different types of options. And I'll definitely say, whether it's me in my office or Deli in the health office or Tom in the building department, we'll absolutely brainstorm and work with people to see if there's other things that make sense. And maybe it won't be for actual restaurant operations, but maybe just public areas for people to bring food that they purchase somewhere and they can just sit at a public picnic table. That's probably a lot easier to implement and wouldn't involve all the regulation and health code things if, we just make public spaces. So maybe it's literally just buying lots of picnic tables. I don't know, but we can definitely think about that. It's a point well taken. And Deli had a similar point to you earlier, Rich, where she similarly thought there would not be a ton of applicants that could pull off this type of large outdoor seating, just based on all the same issues you mentioned.
Mr. Chairman, if I could jump in.
Yes.
I've been trying to track this issue with the Mass Municipal Lawyers Association, because obviously 351 cities and towns are trying to wrestle with the same type of problems. The biggest obstacle was going to be all of the regulations, all the procedural issues that come with making even a slight change to the premises that would be triggered by someone moving out to the sidewalk. But what a lot of communities are doing is they're talking about shutting down sections of on-street parking so that you could block off the sidewalk. I think, you know, anybody who's been in North End, you can't walk down the sidewalk on a normal night. If they put one table out there, it comes to a standstill. But I think they're talking about cutting off a lot of the parking. And I think most cities and towns, and I think this board would be amenable to any solutions that businesses working with us can come up with. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're hearing from other attorneys is that, you know, these businesses are going to have to decide whether it makes sense, whether it's feasible economically for them to even try to open on such a limited basis. But at least I think there's some pieces in place for government not to get in the way of that right now.
Yeah, I think, John, I think that's a good point. I think it should be, we have the rules in place, and I think as a town, we should allow any restaurant that wants to open, reach out to us, and we'll try to help them with that, with whatever solution we can find for them. And if it means, you know, taking away some parking spaces and you know, doing Jersey barriers or something like that, and pushing it back, then maybe we do something like that. And you know, I think, to Rich's point, it's incumbent on us to help all the members of our community, and that includes business community. So if they want to open and they're struggling with the ability to do so under these guidelines, I'd still like them to reach out to us and then try to give us a chance to put our collective minds together and figure out an opportunity for them, an option for them. Doug, you and I talked earlier, possibility, you know, one of the parking lots uptown. You know, it gets tough because then it has to be visible from the premises, right? I mean, that you throw that in there according to the guidelines, and it does make it difficult. So if it means that we have to take parking away in front of the building, and we talk to some of the neighbors up there and allow parking in those parking lots for those restaurants, then maybe we do that. We take away some of the diagonal parking and we Jersey barrier that off and allow that to be an on-site spot for these restaurants to, you know, serve their customers. And then we'll figure out, you know, the residents can figure out parking if they want to utilize these restaurants, you know, and they might have to walk, you know, a couple yards. But I think it's up to us as a board and as a town to try to work with our business partners and try to figure out what we can do to help them out to get them reopened as quick as possible and as safe as possible. Mr. Mullen, any comment?
No, I agree exactly with you. Oh, you know, like in Richmond, Mr. Chairman, like in exactly what John was saying as well. Oh, you know, as we're talking about, there's also another idea. Oh, you know, following up on the conversation that we had with Wayne Darrow earlier in the meeting, also came to mind. You know, he mentioned that there will be like another round. You know, of coronavirus-related CDBG funding. Like obviously, like our Union Street corridor, and the businesses who we're trying to work with and help here, you know, they're in a, you know, they're like in the type of opportunity zone or like an economic target area that we want to deal with, like and be able to help. And like I'm just really thinking out loud. I mean, you know, maybe that becomes a priority that. You know, we try to work with the DHCD to pursue, like in that second round, where we can look at our, you know, whatever open spaces we have uptown. You know, we can look at, how we can, you know, maybe have funding to facilitate, like any type of license agreements, like with private, you know, businesses or other groups. I'm thinking like the Eagles. Or the Doughboy building, for example, you know, to be able to to facilitate those things. So I think, we're all talking and, and speaking about the same priorities, because as Rich mentioned, we do understand our constituents and our constituent businesses also. And I think, we're all on the same page in this regard. I do want to thank Doug and John and Jen and Deli for, their efforts to do the outreach to everyone. So really our restaurants and our business owners really know that we're fighting like hell for them. Frankly. So, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Kara, any comments?
No, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Larry?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so Doug, does that make sense?
Yeah,
No.
I get it. No, I think we're all on the same page. We just got the letters out, and we did it both by email as well as paper. Deli's also been speaking to all the restaurants all along, working with them.
Yeah,
So
I would make sure, because I run restaurant week and it's impossible. It's like herding cats to get responses. So really bring it to them. Bring the information to them. If you haven't heard from them, maybe Deli does just kind of go down and pay them a visit and let them know what we're willing to do, and we'll try to figure it out. As far as parking lots go, is there? I mean, I know when a place is planned, right? When a restaurant is planned, there's X amount of parking spaces that they have to have. Does this allow us to relax those plans, the planning of those initial licenses?
I think the answer is yes, because I
Okay.
think essentially all those other, it's like notwithstanding all these other general provisions of law, and I shouldn't say, I'll let John speak, but my understanding is yes, temporarily.
Okay.
Out of the provisions in the new legislation would allow the town to waive zoning, and the parking requirements are part of the zoning approval.
So I think any restaurant that we have that has their own parking lot, they, by all means, do what you got to do. But the ones that don't, we'll try to figure something out for them. And I think we go from there.
Excuse me, Chairman, can I just talk real quick?
Deli, how are you? Yes.
So I just want to say, I have reached out to all the establishments, especially on Union Street. We have to remember that they're basically sub shops. They're to-go establishments, basically. And they've been open. They've been thriving to the best of their abilities. I don't think the dine-in portion really affects them right now.
So how about like a Monero's, a Porter's Pub, the Banner, Rockland Bar and Grill, Anita Marie's? I'm thinking like those ones that are really, landlocked. There's no open space for them to go to. I know Mike's and Corner and some of the other ones up there have done all right with their takeout service, because that's primarily their business anyway. It's not a big dine-in clientele. But these other ones that we're talking about, those are the ones that present the challenge. And the Banner does have outdoor seating, but maybe to expand it to the parking lot side as well might be an option for them,
Then you even go down to China Plaza, to the Thai
Absolutely.
place.
Yeah.
Lucas. So, TK O'Shea's. So, it's not just uptown.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And I reached out, the Banner's on renovations right now. So she's fine. Monero's, so behind Monero's is all the dumpsters, the trash dumpsters. So they wouldn't put a tent out there or seating. It's an extra expense for them right now, and they're just willing to ride it out and wait for the inside portion to open.
But if the option was presented to them that we would shut down the sidewalk and allow them to go into the parking spaces and then reroute traffic to allow them to be open, it might be a different story, because there's not a lot of tables in Monero's to begin with anyway. So we might be able to offer them the possibility of having 10 tables between the sidewalk and a few parking spaces.
Mike, if I may jump in briefly to answer, I think your question or Rich's question earlier. The one thing that we cannot be light on, the AG's been clear about is making sure we're not violative of Americans with Disabilities Act. So that's just one thing to pay attention to, particularly along Union Street. And
Okay.
just so that the board knows, in some of the conversations and work that's happening around expanding outdoor seating options for restaurants, some restaurants are embracing it and some locally are saying it's just not worth the effort for the limited amount of seating options that it would provide them. So just there are different perspectives out there, but I agree. I think it's worth giving those businesses the option and helping them achieve that if that's what they would like to do.
Yeah, I think it's just important that every one of those businesses at least gets the presentation that you guys just gave us as to what the new standards are, and let them know that if they're looking to open back up, then we will be there to help them facilitate that.
One thing, if I could, just as a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, I mean, one of the things, I mean, we don't have as a town, like a huge footprint in the downtown in terms of open green space, but even thinking, picnic tables or like seating areas on the library lawn, for example. That could work for, Anita Marie's, and Manero's.
Porter's Pub.
Just those type of things. If we could, to Rich's point earlier, be looking, like to facilitate those type of things as well.
Community center parking lot, places like that, where we can do something, set something up, remotely and figure it out from there. Just give them an opportunity.
There's also like your mom's front yard over there too, Mr. Chairman.
Fortunately, she lives over there, so I won't take that away.
Anyways,
Thank you, Mike. All right, so I think if I'm hearing it right, the board is in agreement that we should explore whatever possibilities we can to help these restaurants open safely and to whatever amount that they want at this point outdoors.
Yep,
Yeah.
got it. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I think at this point, it's our job to try to help, and not just restaurants, any businesses as it comes through. Whatever we can do it's been a tough hoe, and whatever we can do to help, I think we need to do that.
We got to lessen the burden. Yep. Larry, any further comments?
Nope, I'm good. I'm done.
Okay, Kara.
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right. So moving on. So Doug, you're good with that. You and your team are good.
Got it.
Perfect. All right. FY20, FY21 budget update, if necessary.
So I actually think on the budget, there's no change. Biz, do you agree? No change to go over? Yeah, no change. So I think we're good on the budget.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Annual town meeting update.
I should say we're as good on the budget as good as you can be in a economic collapse and a pandemic with multi-million-dollar budget cuts. We're good.
Yeah. Doug, don't hold back.
Yeah, don't get me started. So town meeting update, there's two things I wanted to go over, and I want to thank Kevin Henderson for being our town moderator, for being on this call in case he wants to chime in. We had a Zoom meeting the other day that included the moderator, myself, police chief, fire chief, town clerk, health agent, WRPS, and the school department, just all at the same time to discuss the location, our recommended location for town meeting. I just wanted to pull everybody together just to kind of once and for all come up with a final recommendation for whether it should be inside or outside. As you've probably seen in the news, there are some towns that are looking to do things outdoors in either parking lots or athletic fields. And we're looking at the baseball stadium. And after some extensive discussion, the group unanimously is recommending that we hold it inside at the high school. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of the big ones is the obvious uncertainty with trying to plan for a town meeting outside as it relates to weather. weather's a big concern. And then you add on top of that, what I'm told in that area that time of year at dusk with mosquitoes and things like that. And it just seems like there's, likelihood of potential problems whereas in Rockland in the high school, we're blessed that we have a large auditorium that, I'll give the normal seating capacity. Normally seats 730 people in the auditorium. We have a cafeteria that seats 388, a gym that seats 701, and a lecture hall that seats 130. So given our sort of normal attendance at a regular annual town meeting without any big controversial items on it, like what we have, we think that with the proper social distancing precautions, given all those spaces, we could have assistant moderators, assistant town clerks. We should be fine to be able to have it indoors, spread out, and without having to stress out about, bad weather, lighting, mosquitoes, all that kind of stuff. So our recommendation, and we can get into more of that if you have questions, but our recommendation is to have it at the normal place and at the normal time, meaning 7 p.m., the date you've already set, which is Monday, June 22nd.
Any comments, Mr. Ryan?
Good.
Mr. Mullen?
Just a real quick question. I believe there might be legislation going through the works, also like relating to reduce some the quorum requirements. Do we have any idea of that? Will or may be a reality by then?
So John may have his finger on the pulse a little better than me. I'm kind of surprised it's kind of languished a bit, but I don't know that it's going to matter so much for us because, it just reduces the quorum to 10%. So, but if 300 people show up, we still have to accommodate 300 people. It doesn't set a cap. It's just, lowers that minimum. So it would be nice so we wouldn't have to worry about making sure we have the quorum. If that legislation passes, I believe it's still alive, but going slow, that'd be great. But either way, we still have to have these contingency plans for, the gym and the cafeteria and other rooms for overflow if we get more people. I don't know, John, if you have any different insight than me on that.
No, the legislation is still pending. With everything that's going on, I think the legislature's done the best they can to try to stay up on this, but everything is coming through last minute. The restaurants are scheduled to have a possible reopening next week, and the legislation is going to be probably, hopefully, passed this week. So I expect the same thing with town meetings. I'm not aware of any town meetings that are going to go for at least for another week or two. So they have a little bit of time, but I do expect that to pass. And the process and the legislation would be for the Board of Selectmen to vote to lower the quorum, to accept the legislation.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Kara, any comments?
No, I think this plan makes sense. Thank you.
Rich?
Doug, nice work with everyone involved. I think this is a very common sense approach, and I think using the building with everything that's in there, like you said, we'll be able to accommodate everyone who comes and adhere to proper protocol. So thank you. Nice job, the whole group.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, Doug, I think it makes sense. I think we could, paralysis by analysis, by looking for all these other different places. I think to Rich's point and to your point, the space that we have is plenty big that we can figure something out. We're doing everything remotely now, so if we have X amount of people here, X amount there. But I do think from the lowering quorum is I think important to a point, just in case we don't reach that number out of people potentially being afraid to come out and being in that situation and not, fear of the unknown.
Right.
So I look forward to that legislation coming through, and I think it's something that we should definitely do when it does come through.
And I should have mentioned also, Mike, if I may, we'll push out more information now that you guys all agree on the location, working with Deli and the fire chief. we're gonna put out information so the public is aware of what's gonna happen. We're gonna want people to show up earlier than normal. We don't want a big rush of everybody showing up at 6:55 and crowding and queuing up together. We want people to come early. We'll have spaces marked out. We're gonna require face coverings. The fire department will have paramedics or EMTs that are gonna do temperature checks. If somebody has a fever, we're not gonna allow them into town meeting, that type of thing. So we're gonna, we'll work with Delia and the chief and others, and we're going to do some dry runs and make sure we have everything in place, and we'll notify the public ahead of time so they're prepared accordingly.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
So one other item, can I make one other request? So related to the warrant, I put the latest version of it. We've been correcting more typos and tightening things up a little bit. John Clifford still has his final review to do, but there's one article that I think we should actually add to the warrant. So I'll explain that in a second, but I'd like, if you guys are okay, to reopen the warrant and then vote it and then close the warrant again. So as you recall, back when we were going over the budget, there was one item in one of the capital articles for the school department, a sped van that was previously going to be just funded outright using free cash. And then once we had to go through and do all our budget cuts, the school department was able to fund that in their regular operating budget. So we took that out. But one thing I didn't really think about was the procurement from their end. So when we were sharing the warrant with the school department earlier, Jane Hackett made a good point, which was, hey, they might want to do a lease purchase for those vans. That might be a better deal than just a simple outright purchase. So I think it's prudent that there's no extra dollars involved because this is all going to be funded within their budget, but an extra article that would just authorize a lease purchase for the sped vans for the school department. So if you guys are okay with that, I'd like you to open the warrant, vote that, then close the warrant, and then we'll have the finance committee vote the same thing tomorrow night.
I'll entertain a motion to open the warrant.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Larry?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And myself. Okay, warrant is now open. I'll entertain a motion to add the article for the sped van.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor? Larry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And myself? That's a yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to close the warrant.
Motion to close the warrant.
Second.
Motion. I have a second. Okay, all those in favor? Larry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sarah? Sarah?
Yes. I don't know what that.
Okay. And Rich?
Yes.
Man, it's so much easier when we're in a room together and I can just look over to see whose hand is up. And myself. Okay, so town meeting warrant is closed.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, the warrant will be 100% done by the end of this week, and it'll be posted publicly on Monday. I should add that the posting is going to be a little different than normal because of coronavirus. Normally, the physical warrant is posted at the variety of locations. A lot of these locations are closed now. So what we're going to do is there'll be a notice of that posting at each of these other businesses, whether it's a restaurant or the senior center, whatever. And it's going to have two things on there. It's going to say you can download the warrant at the town website, and it'll list the address so anybody can just download it and print it themselves. Or if they don't have the ability to do that, we'll give them the phone number. They can call town hall, call Sue in my office, and Sue will make arrangements to either make an arrangement to have them right outside of town hall so that somebody could physically pick up a copy. So it'll be a little different, but it'll be posted in all the right places.
Sounds good. Okay, next on the agenda, town administrator's report and correspondence. Doug.
Thank you. So the only real extra update I wanted to give you was I just want to give some appreciation for both Fire Chief Duffy, who's here on the call right now, and Police Chief Llewellyn. Chief Duffy's been incredibly busy lately. I called him one time and he didn't get back to me for a little bit, and I realized he was literally physically out at an active fire, and I forget sometimes that, I shouldn't say I forget, but I just appreciate what these guys do. And similarly, the other thing I wanted to mention was I was talking to Chief Llewellyn the other day, and he mentioned very low key, he had to go up to Boston, I think it was last night, to help do riot patrol, crowd control at a part of downtown Boston. And I asked for a little bit more information, and he wouldn't really want me to do this, but I'd like to anyway. So I didn't realize that the Chief Llewellyn is the control chief for the Metro LEC, which is the Law Enforcement Council for their motorcycle group. So he oversees a group of 40 police officers on motorcycles that are highly trained in escorts and crowd control tactics. And so he was up there, like right on the second line, right behind the, the front line, help, keeping the community and property safe in downtown Boston. And he was very low key about it. And I think everything went smoothly last night. And I just really wanted to express my personal appreciation to both of these two individuals as well as their departments for everything they do, because it's critical, and they do an incredible job, and they don't ask for thanks when they do it. They're very humble. So that's all I have for tonight.
Awesome. Anybody have any comments based on Doug's comments specifically? Larry?
Yes and no. I'm all set for now, though.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, yes. No, I just want to say I saw on Facebook, that the chief and three of his officers, like in Sergeant Pigeon, I believe, were heading up there. And I just really want to thank him. It's amazing, like as difficult and as challenging as, like an emotionally challenging this, the last week has been, and the last few months have been, to know that we have people here in Rock who, really prove time and time again, what they're all about, what our departments are all about, and, how we do business here in Rockland, and take that elsewhere, is just a point of enormous, pride for our whole town. And, thank you, Doug, for mentioning that, because it's, it really is, that important. So, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief, and to all the men and women who work for you as well. Thank you.
Kara?
Thank you, Doug, for bringing this up. I was also going to mention this in my comments tonight, but just want to thank Chief Llewellyn and members of the Rockland Police Department who answered the call in Rockland and across the Commonwealth. We're grateful for what you do every day. Thank you.
Rich?
Yeah, just I want to say thank you. And this is becoming commonplace with both the fire and the police through these trying times. It seems like every time we have a meeting, there's another reason to thank both of those agencies. They continue to perform at an incredibly high level. I don't know if people really realize we've got several members in our police force that belong to these regional teams that have gone and continue to go get special training and go out, SWAT, the motorcycle team, K9, and it's a huge benefit to our town, but it also just kind of reinforces the commitment that our police and fire have to us in the town, to take on these extra responsibilities because they want to do the right thing. So I just want to say thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Rich. And just, to the chiefs, it's pretty impressive, over the years, the accolades and all. To Rich's point, every time it happens more and more often. And I know you guys are both very humble about it, and you guys always do the right thing, and you guys always defer to your team and their abilities and their experience, and that's the right thing to do. But I always say leadership starts at the top, and that experience comes from good leadership and good direction, and you guys are both have been great to me over the years, and to this town. You guys are we're definitely lucky to have you guys. So Scott, John, appreciate all your hard work over the years. Thank you.
I'm told that Chief Llewellyn is in Brockton right now, helping that community with I don't know
Yeah.
if they're actually riots or not, but he's in Brockton right now, so.
Yeah, I just got a message that they're closing a lot of the stores in Brockton right now. So, okay. So moving on, Selectmen's comments. Comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for the delay, but on the same, on the same note, I just want to, just mention and, like it kind of, with everything, frankly, that we went through a few years ago, like, and now, as well, I mean, at the beginning of everything we do, like it, like at all of our public meetings, we start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and we end by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, with the words, with the words with liberty and justice for all. And at times those words, seem like just words. As we say it, it's at the beginning of a meeting. It's, sometimes it comes off as very, very perfunctory. But when, over the past few months, those, those words, as we looked at where we are as a world, as a country, as a Commonwealth and as a town, those words really mean something with liberty and justice for all. And they mean something to us, serving here. They've always meant something, as we know, to Dick Phelps and his family, and everyone in our community, like and everywhere who cares about, doing what we do and why we do it and treating people, right and justly and fairly, like, and then when things, do go awry, there's justice. And, it just, with everything happening with, with, really with what we just mentioned and talked about with, the police chief, continuing to go above and beyond. And, like, it's clear that all of us, as we go forward, have work that we're going to continue to do and continue, to seek feedback on and dialogue with, make sure we do everything, like as inclusive as we can. But, just those words, I mean, and now more than ever, they're anything really but perfunctory. Like, and, with liberty and justice for all, they mean something. And, I just wanted to take a moment to just like remind all of us that, that's why we're here and that's why we do what we do, throughout our town. So, I hope all of that really makes sense. But, because it's been something I've been thinking about a lot lately. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well said. Ms. Nyman.
I do not have any additional comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Penny.
Mike, thank you. I do have a prepared statement. So just want to make sure everyone understands these comments are my opinion only, not the opinion of any member of the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Selectmen or any town official. We've all seen our way of life dramatically change over the past 2 months. Members of our community have been stricken with COVID-19, including some having tragically died due to this virus. Have had their livelihood dramatically impacted. Our children's education and social interactions have been severely limited, and our daily way of life perhaps forever changed. We as a town have listened to and adhered to our political leaders, both nationally and on a state level, under the guise of what is in best public safety. After 2.5 months, I feel that they have, unfortunately, lost their way in leading us through this pandemic. No longer are decisions made for public safety, but for reasons only they could answer. They are arbitrary in nature, seem to favor certain businesses and business types, and are not in the best interests of all of our residents. We are facing potentially the most dramatic financial crisis our generation has ever seen, both from a personal standpoint, but also as a community. While this virus is real and deadly, we have as a nation faced other viruses and diseases over the past century, which have taken many lives, caused much suffering, and today are still with us and unfortunately continue to take lives. But we were always able to continue to function as a society. Unfortunately, our current leaders have not been able to lead us through this newest pandemic while keeping us a functioning society. My own personal opinion, and this is just my own personal opinion, is if the state, and only if the state's leadership continues to struggle, we as a community need to take smart, strategic, and common sense based actions that allow us to safeguard our residents while meeting the needs of all. This includes opening of all businesses and public spaces while meeting social distancing and CDC guidelines set forth. The arbitrary nature of our state's opening needs to end. This can be accomplished and must be accomplished, or we face the reality of years of economic devastation due to this virus and the lack of leadership from our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Well said. Mr. Ryan.
I got a number of things. Thanks, Dick Phelps, for all you've done. You got a great family. They speak, they all bleed Rockland blue. And I want to thank you and for all the time you put in, and your family too. Great people. Ken Tachi on the FinCom has to retire. Ken's also a family member, and he's doing all right, but he's struggling along, but he's doing all right. But he's going to be missed, and thank you, Bob. Ken, that too. A lot of people know Computer Bob. Wife Karen passed away the other day, way too young, and she's going to be missed. Special thanks to Memorial Day flagger, Vinny Fontaine. Vinny, you're doing a great job as the Rockland Veterans Agent. Everybody respects you, and you're doing a great job. We honor you. The high school parade, the police and everybody it went off pretty well. They all went by my house, and everybody was in order and seemed to be having a good time and waving, and it was a good thing. Thanks to the police and fire for their participation in all the different parades and things that they were able to pull off until the shutdown, which we knew had to come, came. So Scott and Chief Llewellyn, thanks a million. You guys did a great job. And all you guys too, I must admit. And don't forget, Election Day is June 20th. I don't know what the quorum figure is going to be. We only need 150 people. We could fit 150 people easily in the cafeteria. In the auditorium. Everybody's spaced properly, and we hope that you will take the time to come out. We're still going to need people to show up, and regardless, so please come down and register and help get us through this mess that our financial team, I want to thank very much for doing a great job on. Working night and day, we put together, and I'm gonna give the board, the town, special thanks for all the work we did to get these people on board. That our financial team, the top four, I'll call them, they're doing a great job. I want to make sure I thank for all the elected that have been showing up every day for work and doing a good job. Jelly, thank you. He's doing a great job there, young lady, trying to hold the town together, this mess. John Ellard, everybody, the workers uptown, all the women and men that have showed up every day, the guys that work up the landfill. I'm sure they've been overwhelmed, and they They're there every day. They're doing their job. And I want to thank every one of them because without unified effort, we would be in far worse mess than we're in right now. And everybody pulling together has done a great job to salvage what we can and to find every available dime that we can use to add and to defray our debts or whatever. But you're doing a great job, everyone. And I just really, I sit home here and it's, life is easy for me. And I think about you guys up there all the time doing the job. Dave Taylor's out there. You got the streets all dug up and doing a great job. The center of town is going to look gorgeous. The people of the town of Rockland, I just want to tell you one thing. Despite the tragedies and all the stuff that's going on, our town is in good shape, good hands, and we're doing absolute top dog best with what we got to work with. And if you see any of these people walking down the street, you make sure you say thank you from the town of Rockland, because without these people, it'd be up, what creek without a paddle. Thank you, all of you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry. I haven't got much tonight. I mean, obviously, there's so much going on outside of the town of Rockland that unfortunately has a really negative effect on the town of Rockland. Like I've been saying all along, we stick together, we'll get through it, and wake up to a new tomorrow. And I mean, who knows? Who knows what's coming down next? It seems this year, just when you think the worst is going on, then the next week occurs and it's even worse. So, but I think through it all, stick with each other and we look out for each other and look out for one another. We will get through it. On a final note, I just want to recognize my mother-in-law, Eleanor Murphy, who is retiring on June 8th from the Rockland Senior Center. She's been the outreach coordinator over there for the last 13 years. So, Eleanor, good luck and enjoy retirement with John. And with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for purpose number 3, litigation strategy, Craig Erickson versus Rockland Fire Department, and review and approval of executive session minutes, April 21st, 2020. Mr. Mullen, do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Penny,
Yes.
and myself. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.